Hi, I'm Phyllis Lang, and welcome to Nightwear. Today's webinar investigates the backup and restore procedures available in Deep Sky Planner. Backup and restore is not a very exciting topic, but I feel that you should learn to use it, exactly how you can use it, what it can do for you. To me, your observing data is some of the most valuable thing that comes from your astronomy, and so you should take special care to safeguard it. You should be able to synchronize it among multiple installations of Deep Sky Planner, and of course, you should be able to share it with other software if you need to. Deep Sky Planner has quite a bit of data with it. By far, the majority of this is object data for over 1.5 million objects. That's quite a bit of data. But beyond the object data are the items that I would refer to as your user data. Things like locations where you observe, equipment lists, device configurations, system preferences, and so forth. All of this information together is what goes into a backup set, not the object data. The object data is static. Because the object data is static and does not need to participate in backup, your backup files are not large. Now, the caveat to that statement would be whether you back up your digitized sky survey images. If you include lots of DSS images in your backups, they will be large. But if you omit that, your backups will not be tremendous. So we'll look at the different segments of data that go into a backup next. The first thing we can talk about regarding the backup is exactly what goes into one. So we'll go to the File menu and choose Backup. And here we get a selection form. And we can choose which segments of user data go into the backup set. The restore function is a mirror of this type of process, in which only the data segments that are present in the restore file can be chosen. And you can also choose a subset of those. So this gives you more flexibility with exactly what you save, what you restore, and how large your files will be. So to use the backup definition form, we have these different segments of data. And we can choose all segments of data, which is the default, or we can pick and choose exactly which segments to include. So if I click the None button, I can go and choose whichever segments of the data I want to save. Now, most of these items are things that don't take much space, and you're probably wise to choose these with your standard backup when you're attempting to safeguard your data. If you want to synchronize systems, you should choose all of these user settings. Now, once we get to the right column of selections, we have the sky quality meter configuration, and then we begin to get to the larger segments of data that are related to your observing log. If you want to save everything that has to do with your logs, you only need to choose observations. Observations really encompasses sky conditions and observers and equipment and locations. So you can choose only the locations and not the observations, and you'll be getting a subset of your observing log data. If you choose just observations, you're going to get everything that is referenced from an observation in your observing log. So this is by far the item that I use the most myself. After every observing session, I make a backup of all my observations and I save them for safekeeping. The last item here also probably needs a bit of discussion, and that is your DSS images. If you have DSS images loaded from online access, you will see some files and some number of kilobytes or megabytes or so forth. I do have users who, for example, open a Deep Sky report of the entire NGC catalog, click download DSS images, and go to bed. They acquire all those images and they store them on a vast amount of storage somewhere. One of the neatest ideas I've heard someone use is that they had a solid state drive that they backed all the DSS images up to. And then because they did it this way, their access to DSS images is lightning fast. So again, you can back up whichever segment of your user data that you wish to. And when you select something to back up, you click back up, you'll give it a file name. It is actually stored into a zip archive, but that doesn't really matter. It's just a backup procedure that saves data to a file. So now we have ourselves a backup set, and this one contains only observations and all the information referenced by those observations. So we can close this and we can go and look at the restore side of this operation. So File, Restore, and I'll choose the file that we just made. And as you can see, the restore form looks very much like the backup form. Several of the items are grayed out, and that's because they are not contained within that backup file. Now, only the observations were present, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that checked. And when I click Restore, we should see a restore status. Notice that no sessions were restored. That's because they're already in the observing log in the system. The restoring observations is taking longer because there's a lot more information in there. And what should happen is no observations are restored because they were all present in the database. The only information that will come into the database from the restore procedure is observations that aren't already present. So once you've got that, your database should be synchronized from, well, the backup set that we had. And had we included other user settings and data, that would be restored at this point too. Now the other important point, I think, with backup and restore is the safeguarding aspect, the synchronizing aspect, and where exactly you store these files. So in the previous examples, I saved the files and restored from those files that were located on my local hard drive. So many of my users are on home networks that share drive space so that files can be synchronized rather simply. You can certainly do this with this backup and restore procedure. You can back up to a shared drive somewhere on your network that is accessible to the one laptop you use in the field and the one desktop you use indoors, or whatever your usage scenario happens to be. There's another possibility too, which is one that I use myself, and that is using cloud storage for these backup and restore files. It turns out that I'm doing this webinar on a Windows 10 laptop. And Windows 10 has built in it cloud storage support on Microsoft OneDrive. Now, whether you use OneDrive or you use Google Drive or iCloud or Dropbox or what have you, most of these services have the ability to get files from your laptop through the Windows Explorer. Sometimes they have a client application that you can install on your PC, and that makes the storage, the cloud storage, look like just another drive on your local PC. That is exactly what OneDrive does, and as I said, this comes as part of Windows 10. I believe that it was also part of Windows 8. With Windows 7, you'll have to install the client application for Windows 7. It's a free download from Microsoft. And of course, I think these other cloud storage services offer apps too. So for this demonstration, I will just show you how I do my backup and restore using OneDrive. So on this Windows 10 system, OneDrive looks like just another storage location as far as the file manager is concerned. So if I click File and Backup, I can choose whatever segments, click Backup, and here is where I'm going to choose the storage location. So as we demonstrated a moment ago, we put the backup file on the local hard drive. If instead I'd like to back it up to OneDrive, which I actually do in practice, I have a folder system set up in my OneDrive account where I have Deep Sky Planner 7 backups. And these are the archive files created by backup. So if I save, the system will store it to a file on OneDrive, and it is completely accessible just like a local file would be. So I can close this. I can go back to File and do Restore and unwind the process. So Deep Sky Planner will remember where the last backup was saved. So it is already pointing to OneDrive, the Documents folder, which is full of my backup files, and this is the one that I just sent to OneDrive. So if I try to restore from that, all of that data will be present and nothing will be restored, but you can at least see the procedure work. So I strongly recommend using that cloud storage if you have it. It is safe from loss on a home network. It's safe from a hard drive crash. If you feel that the data is personal and you don't want to share it on cloud storage, then I urge you to back up to some type of offline storage, perhaps a flash drive or an external hard drive. So that's about it for backup and restore. I hope that you can see how easy it is, how flexible it is, and the importance of taking care of your data. Thanks for watching.